morning and welcome to Pot Up with Matthews in the morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Large enough to serve you, small enough to care. It is Tuesday edition of the program. We're going to kick it off with good old Buddy Martin here in just a second. Second part of the program, we have new Hall of Famer at the University of Florida, Brandon James, return specialist, will be joining us in the second half of the show. But now we're going to go straight to the Titan MR hotline, and we're joined by good old Buddy Martin. Good morning, buddy. How are you?
I think I have to change the name of my show. It's, the Good Old Buddy Martin Show, by the way.
I like that.
And,
good old Buddy Martin, yeah.
And, you know, there was a movie once called If This Is Tuesday, It Must Be Belgium. I'm going to change that to If This Is Tuesday, It Must Be Buddy.
There you go.
Or tonight, it must be Shane on the Buddy Martin Show at 9 o'clock. So, you know, I got that right in there. So
that's right. We always have Buddy Martin on Tuesday mornings, and then I joined the Buddy Martin Show on Facebook Live on Tuesday nights. Buddy, let's first of all, we're going to talk a lot about college football. A lot of things have changed here in the last couple of days. But did you see where Furman dropped their baseball program yesterday? I was a little surprised at that.
Yeah, Furman's. I don't know much about their baseball program, but they're a pretty good school, and I don't know what the endowment situation is, but I'm looking for those stories almost every day in the next few weeks. It's coming. We know it's coming. It's changing. And the topic of change is something that I've talked about a lot on my show. You and I have talked about it, not in a good way, but somehow or another, they'll survive this. And not only are we going to see sports drop, especially spring sports, but there's a possibility that maybe a school might drop, you know what I mean? A smaller school. So it's tough times. And I was a little surprised by it, but right now, Shane, I almost wouldn't be surprised by anything.
Yeah. Well, buddy, let's jump into college football because, you know, there's all kinds of rumors out there. Things are changing daily, but it looks like there's a possibility that this college football season may kick off on time. I believe the SEC athletic directors, I want to say Friday, are going to vote on when to have the student athletes back on campus, whether it be June 1st or June 15th. What are you hearing out there from your sources?
Well, I mean, I'm seeing stories about the university system in Florida are going to go back up. And although it hasn't happened, it's expected to reopen. That's the first thing you have to do is get the schools open. And apparently the University of Florida has chosen to do that. Now, everything else you hear, Scott Strickland talks about it. He didn't talk about it definitively, but he is obviously planning and telling people to get ready. And I think that's a really smart idea because a piece I'm working on this week for GatorBait is about how you prepare for something when you don't know for sure you're going to have it. Check us out down here in Florida. It's called hurricane season. You know, every year we have to get ready for hurricanes that we may or may not see. And, you know, usually speaking, you know, you survive, although there have been a few that have caused absolute chaos. LSU, Florida, if you remember that situation with that scheduling. But so I think they're doing the right thing. They're thinking, all right, this is our plan. Hey, here's B, here's C, here's D, here's E. And right now we haven't even formulated A. But if I had to make a guess, and it's dangerous to do that because no fool would attempt to predict that, I think there's a good chance we're going to have some kind of football season, although I'm not sure how it's going to work out, how many games there will be, how long the season will be. And I heard yesterday that Clemson is closing the school after Thanksgiving and will not come back until after the holidays and depending on the virus. So it's one of those things. And Shane, this is not the first time generations have had to live with that. I'm an old guy. We had polio and the bomb. We had to live with the threat of the bomb and the Bay of Pigs invasion, all those things. And so the uncertainty is unnerving. This is the most deadly thing we've had, although people did die from polio, just so you know. This is this generation's time. And oddly enough, really, it's more my generation because my generation is the one that's most in jeopardy in terms of losing life.
We're speaking with Buddy Martin on the Titan MRI hotline. If you want to send him a text on the Titan MRI text line, it's 352-353-7465. Jan on Facebook Live, brought to you by Pound Hurt, your preferred business interruption attorneys. Jan says, good morning, Gators. Buddy, I know that you have some great ideas of the Buddy plan for college football. You want to let us know what that might possibly be?
Yeah, I know my listeners are tired of it after all these years because I started it 30 years ago and it really hasn't changed very much. In essence, it's pretty simple. I'll just break it down like this. There needs to be change. There needs to be change now and to start now to get it done in 3 years or 2 years. And it can be done if they'll just make up their mind not to get afraid of litigation and just to do it. And the Power Five is going to have to drive it. Power Five is going to have to say, okay, this is big boy football. We're playing in a league and we're going to add a few more teams to it. And we're going to make up an arbitrary number. I don't care, 80, 85, 88, whatever it may be, to reduce the field that plays for the championship from 130. Sorry, folks, it just ain't going to fly. You got too many. Then you break it up to a national conference and you go from there and you reduce the schedule to 10 games. Maybe you have a conference championship game and then you expand the playoffs. We all know it's coming, and the stubbornness of the the group, the committee, not to change is ridiculous. You got to change it, and maybe even you change some conferences and you move some teams around geographically to allow for better travel. I mean, I'll just make something up here. What if Missouri went back to what used to be the Big Eight, which is now the Big 12? And Auburn comes to the East. Let's say that maybe Florida, maybe they add Clemson to the SEC. Maybe they look at Florida State. I'm just saying groupings are important now because of travel, because of finances. You can't spend a gazillion dollars on recruiting like some schools are doing. You can't fly all over the place in private planes. So there has to be some temperance. There's got to be some some financial responsibility. And the league is really, let's be honest, it's a junior NFL. So what goes on television is what drives the bus. It's an economic package. There's room out there for expansion. 8 playoff teams could bring 4 games, twice as many playoffs, and a lot more money to offset it. Stop playing the cupcake games, make it better, and make it better now.
I like it. Speaking of cupcake games, I saw where Ole Miss and USC just scheduled a home and home for 2025 and 2026. That should be interesting if Lane Kiffin is still at Ole Miss in 2025, going back to SC for a game. What do you think about that series?
I like it. I think that's what we need to start doing here. And Florida's done a pretty good job on bringing some of those games out too, like scheduling Colorado, et cetera. And I think you're going to have to weigh that though, because in the end, there's some talk about playing, if nothing else, strictly conference games this year. What do you do then? You may have to change that. I like the idea and the concept, and I think long haul that will get us there. Right now, it's about survival. I love the intersectional rivalries, and that will be a good one. And of course, if Lane upsets them, especially.
Mary says on Facebook Live, brought to you by Pound Hurt, your preferred business interruption attorney. She says it's a beautiful day at Crescent Beach.
Oh boy!
I wonder if the head ball coach is over there this week.
Of course he is. You know he is. And what else? He was telling me the story about how when they were closed the beaches down, they said he would go out to the dunes in front of his house there, and not really be on the beach. He says, but the police were eyeballing him the whole time. He was out there like, you better not come on this beach, So the HBC is the mayor of Crescent Beach.
Wouldn't that be a story if the HBC wanted to go out there and body surf, because he loves to body surf those waves?
Yeah, he does.
And they arrested him.
Ticket.
So, buddy, you were talking before we came on the show. You saw an article, I think, by Sporting News, where it was ranking the college quarterbacks in the country. And where'd they have Kyle Trask listed?
I'm so tired of these lists, yet I can't resist them. And I don't want to fight this battle like I'm, being a homer for Florida quarterbacks, whatever. But as I understand the article, and I have not read it, so I'm just going by what I've been told, that the ranking of the quarterbacks, I don't know who was number one. I know that Jamie Newman, who's been the darling of a lot of these polls, and by the way, a lot of people have not even seen him play. They already said he's the bomb. And it was 10th, which is low for Jamie Newman. Kyle Trask was 14. Okay. I'm sorry. Show me 13 better quarterbacks than Kyle Trask in any way you want to. I got to thinking about you, Shane, in 1990 when Spurrier arrived. If they had a poll, where you would have been ranked in the country.
In 1990?
Yeah.
I'd probably be like 50, 60, maybe not even on the board
You
because
might have been
nobody knew.
100, might have been 129th.
Yeah, because he caught a lot of grief for starting me from a lot of the Gator boosters. A kid who'd never taken a snap. Now, if you go to 91 or 92, I might have been up
Oh,
in
yeah.
the top 10.
No doubt. Listen, two-time MVP, the SEC champion and all that stuff. And you deserve to be in the Ring of Honor and Hall of Fame and all that, because what you did started everything. Without Shane Matthews, it would have been none of this. But my point is, it doesn't matter where they rate you when you start.
No, it doesn't. And I'm surprised where all this love that Jamie Newman's getting, buddy. He's a really athletic quarterback. He played at Wake Forest. He did a really good job for their program. I mean, Wake's one of those kind of teams that you don't think of them when you think of football. But I saw somewhere, and I think it was on Twitter, and I wish I would have saved it. It talked about the returning quarterbacks, maybe top 10 in the country. And it had their stats of like what they did against other Power 5 schools that they played against last year. And of course, Kyle Trask's numbers were great because pretty much everybody played against was Power 5. But Jamie Newman's numbers were not even there. And yes, I know he's going to be surrounded with a better cast at Georgia, but let's not forget he's going to have a new offensive coordinator, and he's going to be in a system with teammates that he's never played with, and not having spring ball. I just don't see it. And it's just like, buddy, you and I talked about it last year. I was not in love with the Georgia offense. I was never enamored with Jake Fromm. And they were not very good on offense last year, except in one game. And Jake Fromm made some unbelievable throws against the Florida Gators. But other than that, they were very pedestrian. And I just don't see how Jamie Newman is going to change the Georgia Bulldogs. I know they're going to be good on defense, but I just don't see it on offense. And I could be 100% wrong.
I had Mike Griffith from Bulldog Nation on my show last night. We talked about that, and he thinks the defense might be the best they ever had in Athens, and that might be true. We'll see. And out of respect for Jamie Newman, I'm not going to pass judgment, but I'm sorry. I've said it before. I'll say it again. Hasn't taken a snap in the SEC yet. He might have lost his job. Might got beat down if the other quarterback hadn't got hurt. And I think the pieces matter. And I said this last year. Show me the running backs besides DeAndre Swift last year. Show me the wide receivers. Let's see what they got. And their offense wasn't very good. And Jake Fromm against Florida completed 55 third down passes. I mean, it's unbelievable. Every third down pass he threw, all credit to him. So I don't know. I'm not buying into the Georgia mystique. I've said it before. This is where they're just about dead even, Florida and Georgia now. Does Florida get over the hump? I don't know. We'll see. But it's going to be interesting because the more experienced quarterback is Kyle Trask.
We have a question here from Rick, brought to you by Pound Hurt, your preferred business interruption attorneys. It's on Facebook. If the cupcake games are canceled, buddy, how will the small schools support the programs financially?
Well, I don't mean to sound heartless. This is not football welfare, okay? What you do is you rebuild what used to be Division II. And the I get it mixed up. FBC, I guess it is, the other one. Those schools that couldn't make the Power 5, they have their own sort of national conference. They play during the week on TV, maybe on Saturday sometimes. They have their own games and their own playoff. But it shouldn't be up to a mandate to these bigger schools to have these cupcake games and really put a gun to the people who are season ticket holders to come watch a game that nobody cares about. You're damaging your product. Your product has got to be good because you're getting big money from television. And it's not about football welfare. It's about making the big boy football better, making it more palatable. We're all watching on television now. That's how we're going to be watching it. So the product's got to be up to speed. Other games will be good to watch. You'll watch them. I'll watch them. They may be played on Thursday nights, Friday nights, whatever it may be. But they don't deserve to be on primetime television, which for us is, to me, on Saturday is from 9. Well, actually, it's from noon to midnight and thereafter. So, yeah, I hear that argument. I feel for them, but it's not up to the job of these other ADs to support them.
That's true. I'm going to argue with you a little bit here, buddy. Okay. Mm-hmm. Let's say Buddy Martin was a tremendous tight end back in the day. and your son, Brendan, was a really good athlete, maybe not as big as he should be for Division I, but then he got offered a scholarship to Troy, or let's say South Alabama or FAU. You want him to have a great experience playing college football, yes or no?
Of course.
Yes. Okay. Well, in my opinion, those kids, it's kind of a reward for them to be able to go play a game in the Swamp or go play in Tiger Stadium or one against the big boys, because that was their dream, is to play big time college football. Well, not only are they getting a chance to do that and probably get their brains beat out, but their school is getting money to provide for the entire year so they can play football. Because I personally don't think that if the Troys, the South Alabamas, the App States of the world, if they don't get that one game each year, I don't know if they can go to a smaller, stay in Division II or a different league, if you want to say, play for their own national title. I think they got to have that one game, just because not only from a check, but I think it's a great experience for those kids. And maybe I look at it from being an old high school coach, because I saw so many good players not be able to play Division I football, but they had an opportunity to go get an education somewhere else, do what they love to do, but have that opportunity to go back to the Swamp and play against the Florida Gators. But I totally understand what you're saying as well. But I just think that one game needs, maybe not 2 or 3 cupcakes like we have now, but I think they need to have that one game where they can go get $1 million or $750,000 or whatever they get paid to help pay for their entire year.
You had to use Troy, the one school that offered me a preferred walk-on, which I should have taken. I didn't. And of course, I'll always have a soft spot in my heart for Troy. But hey, look, they can play them in the spring. Okay. Those nothing spring games they have, which are just boring. Go ahead and tee up a smaller school and play them. Like the high schools, they have jamborees, right? And stuff like that. I don't care. Bring in 2 of them and play one half, one the other. Get some live football and charge for the game, and looking for revenue. But they've got to protect the integrity of their package. They've got to get real with it. And there's lots of arguments for it. Look, I can say the same thing about high schools. They need help too. I don't think it's the responsibility of Scott Strickland to worry about Troy. It's just not his job.
Yeah, I get that. Buddy, there was some sad news in the broadcasting world this past few days. Phyllis George, who was part of, when I was growing up, I think it was the only show with the NFL, the NFL Today, with Brent Musburger, Irv Cross, that whole crew. Mm-hmm. Did you have the opportunity to ever meet her?
I never did. I was there after she left. I worked for NFL Today for 3 years when Terry Bradshaw started briefly over there before he went to Fox. But I can tell you that everybody I know who knew her just said nothing but great things. And everybody's talking about the fact that she was a pioneer. Let me tell you something, what she did. I mean, she was, I hate to say Jackie Robinson of her day, but women didn't get in. Women didn't have a place at the table. And it was wrong. I mean, look, I'm talking about a day. When I first started, women were not allowed in the press box. You believe that? Women were not allowed in the press box. Matter of fact, I inadvertently sent the first woman to an NFL game in Miami and didn't realize I'd broken anything. But anyway, my point is Phyllis George was special. And the one thing that I was going to say, and then we'll move on, maybe get a comment about Kentucky cheerleaders. The Phyllis George was hired by a guy named Ted Shaker, the executive producer of CBS Sports, my former boss, and we text back and forth yesterday. He made a point. He says, of the people I hired, the 3 biggest personalities I hired were John Madden, Terry Bradshaw, and Phyllis George. So she was not only an icon and a groundbreaker, she was a heck of a personality. I never knew her personally, but the people I know said she was a special person. So dead at 70 years old, R.I.P. Phyllis George.
Buddy, up in Lexington, Kentucky, there's a story that came out, and it had nothing to do with their powerhouse basketball program or Mark Stoops and his football program. It had to do with the cheerleading program. Fill us in on what happened up in Kentucky.
I wish I knew, because I think it's what everybody's talking about today, and yet no one wants to really own up to it. It's a heck of a note when you have to have institutional control of your cheerleaders. It's not a good thing. I mean, And this is, I didn't know this, but apparently there were national champions a whole bunch of times.
Oh yeah, yeah, they're a powerhouse.
Yeah. And then you read the stories, and obviously it's out of control. If you blend, this is not just a story; it's an internal investigation, and they covered it up by saying hazing, public nudity, and alcohol use. That's just part of what went on there. But there's some things going on there that make it look. You've been through some of those hazing things in football. We all have. That you used to do. Don't do it anymore in Florida. But this apparently was similar, and the things they did were pretty bad. And obviously, a program like Kentucky and the cheerleaders, you don't want that to happen to any program, but there's a black eye for the University of Kentucky. They would dismiss the entire coaching staff. Shane. They have not just a cheerleader sponsor, coaching staff. I know the person who does it in Florida. She goes to my church, by the way. Anyway, so 3-month internal investigation, lack of oversight by those in charge, culture of hazing, public nudity, and alcohol use. So there you go. I mean, that's a new one for me.
No doubt. Well, buddy, listen to who I got on my show tomorrow, buddy. It's I know the Gator fans aren't going to be real excited, but it's my one day I'm going to give to the Georgia Bulldogs. My old teammate with the Bears, Kevin Butler, who's one of the only kickers in the College Football Hall of Fame. And then I'm going to have Mark Schlabach from ESPN join us as well. He's a Georgia grad. So,
man, that's good stuff right there. That'll be I'll be watching that tomorrow as well. And I know that tonight I got you on the program. We've got a few other. I want to shout out to my man David Moulton, who's usually on Tuesday nights. He's having cancer surgery this week down in Fort Myers. He's got kidney cancer. So thoughts and prayers to David Moulton down there in Southwest Florida, Miller Moulton Show.
Yeah, and you also wanted to talk about what Coach Spurrier has going on at Campus Credit Union.
Yeah, I mean, I'm learning a lot about this, and we've had the regional manager Ray Boone on our show, and this is not just some ordinary thing. You can actually sign up for their programs, and it's Campus CU is the link, and I've got it right in front of me. I should have given it to you, but anyway, go on there, Campus CU, and go to their website, and they'll tell you about it. But if you want to get some cash, you sign up. You put $5 in a savings account, $50 in an account. And then when you open up your account and put money in it, you get $300 cash money. There's a requirement to do the direct deposit for a couple of months, but keep in mind, everything you put in that bank of deposit is yours, and you can write a check on it right away if you need to. And this is the other part. The reason I'm so excited is $100 is being sent to an organization called Interfaith here in Marion County that takes care of the needy big time. And this is particularly amount is going to help feed the people of Marion County, and your money will make a difference. So a bunch of us folks here are signing up. Quarterback Club of Ocala, France Beard and I signed up, and check it out. We'll have more information on how you can do it tonight. If you have any questions, DM me and I can answer them for you. And excited to have Campus USA Credit Union. By the way, just I might say, the #1 auto lender in Alachua in Marion County.
Good stuff, buddy. Appreciate you joining the program. You can follow him on Twitter at Buddy Show. Check his show out tonight. I'll be on there about 9 o'clock. The Buddy Martin Show on Facebook Live.
Looking forward to it, Shane. Stir it up.
All right, buddy. Take care. That's Buddy Martin. We're going to take our first time out of the program here. When we come back, we'll be joined by the new Hall of Famer at the University of Florida, Brandon James. You're watching and listening to Pot Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. We'll be right back.
Time out! Time out! Hey! Time out! Time out! Time out! There we go. Good.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills.
Let's give them something to cheer for now.
Our Gridiron sponsors are Crime Prevention Security, small enough to serve you, large enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Peachland Dentistry, Gator Nation's #1 choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte and surrounding areas. Area Rug Masters, your #1 choice for rug cleaning. And Pound Hurt, preferred personal injury attorneys.
Our touchdown sponsors are Campus USA Credit Union, Celebration Point Town Center, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, The Keys Grill and Piano Bar, The Digital Mortgage Guy, Adams Ribs, Cloud9 Spa, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Center State Bank, Gator Bait Media, and Davis Chevrolet.
If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, you can visit our website, potupwithshane.com, and click on the advertise button or call Freddie Wiebe at 352-284-3733.
Again, thank you for all the great businesses that support the show. Please remember, if you like what we are doing here, thank our sponsors and support the businesses that support us.
He's looking, still looking. He's going for the end zone. He's got a touchdown.
Welcome back. It's Tuesday edition of Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Hey, folks, Celebration Point is where the Gators come to celebrate with premium brands like Bass Pro Shop, Tommy Hilfiger, Hotel Indigo, Nike, Medici's, Riga Cinemas, and coming soon, the HBC's new restaurant, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill and Visor's Rooftop Bar. We will see you at Celebration Point where the Gators come to celebrate. Our next guest did a lot of celebrating, returning kicks and punts. It's a new Hall of Famer, Brandon James. Brandon, welcome to the program, my man. How are you?
Good. Thank you for having me, man. It's a pleasure, especially being with you. Gator great.
Absolutely. Well, let's, I don't know if you've seen any of my podcasts, but what I like to start out is, you played high school ball over there, St. Augustine for the Yellow Jackets. And you had a tremendous career there. You also ran track. You won a state title. But I like to ask people, did you grow up a Gator fan? Did you always want to play for the Gators? What other schools did you take visits to? And what was the main coach that recruited you to get you to sign with the Gators?
Well, to start with your first question, man, I actually grew up a big-time Seminoles fan. So
okay.
I grew up watching you and rooting against you and hoping you guys get killed by the Seminoles and knowing all about, all the talent you guys had. But, I was a Seminoles fan and actually a little bit of a Miami Hurricanes fan. So it was weird, man. One of my best friends, Quentin Hancock, he went to Tennessee. He was a big Florida fan. So we had that thing going on early on as Seminoles versus the Gators. So that's kind of how, my love for Florida sports all started, especially the collegiate sports. And then, from there coming into high school, getting recruited. Of course, me being a smaller guy, the big three Florida schools stayed away from me originally. I had a pretty good decent amount of offers going into the spring of my junior year. Penn State, Wake, South Carolina. Those were probably the three that I was looking at the most. Penn State, Wake, South Carolina. I think Tennessee a little bit. Iowa wanted me to play cornerback, some stuff like that. But my brother was being recruited by Florida. So it was a thing that you wanted to stay home. And I think Coach Greg Madison was the first to reach out. And he called, and it was a funny situation because it's kind of similar how you asked the question. He called and said, what do you think about the University of Florida? And me being just straightforward, I said, I hate the Gators, man. I'm not going to lie to you. And he started laughing just like you did. He said, we're going to change that very fast. And, he stayed persistent with his recruiting. And probably midway through my senior year, they finally offered. I think I showed them enough at that point. And then from there, it was one of those things where, my half-brother Jacquez, he was getting recruited by him. Jamar Hornsby, who ended up signing to that class also out of Sandalwood, he was in St. Augustine all the time. We were good friends. So it was one of those things where we kind of all recruited each other, along with Tebow, and you seeing all these great athletes going. So that's how it all kind of fell into place for me. Because winning in high school, Coach Wiles had a great program he put together, and we ended up being able to win a state title my senior year. So, going into college, I still wanted to kind of carry that on and, win championships and compete against the best and not, per se go somewhere where you're just going to dominate or get everything you're asking for up front.
Yeah, you came from a great program, as you said, Joey Wiles, great high school football coach over there. Let's talk about a little bit, because I know that St. Augustine-Nice rivalry with Tebow was really big. Did y'all always beat them? I think you did, right?
Every time. Every time. And that's something that, we take a lot of pride in down here at St. Augustine because, not to diminish Tebow at all. You know, he brought Nice to prominence really from the point he stepped there to his sophomore year when we first competed against each other until he left. You know, I mean, they won a state title, so I mean that's more than say enough. He was by far the leader. He carried the team, and I don't think they've quite had the same success since he's been gone. But man, we just had battles, man. My sophomore year, I never forget. I was like, man, who is this white kid that's like fast like Vic, but he's like, you know what I mean? He's tough to tackle. He's like an all-star at quarterback or something like that. And man, I remember him just coming, taking a quarterback draw straight up the middle. You know, our secondary was filled with at least 2 or 3 guys that went to college, and none of them could catch him. So right then and there, I knew he was a special kid. And I remember after the game, us having a conversation about, hey man, good game, man, you're really good. Or we just had kind of that bond because we both had really good games as sophomores. And from there, the rivalry just got more and more intense. And it was fun battles, man. It was always fun, and it was really fun to see him kind of grow each year because again, that year he was probably like 215, 220, kind of slender a little bit, still more speed. But man, he came back the next year just a punishing runner, man. He was trying to run people over. He's about 230 at that point, so it was some good battles.
Yeah, we got a Facebook Live comment here from Dan. He says, St. Augustine always beat my Nice Panthers. And Dan also says, Brandon is one of my favorite Gators. Every time he returned a kick, you knew he could go all the way. Thanks, Brandon. Those are brought to you by Pound Hurt, your preferred business interruption attorneys. If you want to send Brandon a text on the Titan MR text line, it's 352-353-7465. So, Brandon, you come to the University of Florida. I mean, obviously you came at a good time playing for Urban Meyer and that crew, winning 2 national titles. You were a 2-time All-American. Talk a little bit about, when obviously you were an electrifying return guy and you got some action at running back here and there, but did they tell you when you were going to come, you're just going to be a return guy, or did they say, hey, you may have an opportunity to carry the football as well?
Well, of course, recruiting, you know how that works. They're going to tell you what they want you to hear.
Right.
So Coach Meyer definitely told me I was going to get every opportunity to run the ball. And, to not discredit him at all, he gave me opportunity. I mean, my freshman year, Percy was the guy out of our freshman class, but, I was pretty much his backup. So if he went down or anything happened to him, I was that guy that would fill that role. And I remember some games, me getting a few carries. But again, when I came up in football, it was kind of the chip on my shoulder, whatever opportunity I'm given, I'm just going to make the most of it. And the special teams was the first route. Now they did say I was going to get every opportunity to be our returner, and I had the meniscus tear early on my freshman year in camp, and I kind of recovered really quickly. And by the time the second game came around, I was returning kicks, and I never forget that Tennessee game, man. Had no clue I was going back there. The first punt, Reggie was still back deep. I think it was a situation where field position where he wanted to go with some sure hands. But the next opportunity we got, he took Reggie out and put me in. And, it kind of gave him that look like, you're sure? And then once he did his head, like, yeah, go ahead, go in the game. I just took off out there. And, the rest is kind of history from there.
We got a text here from Daryl on the Titan MR text line. He wants to know, Brandon, what team did you love playing against as a Gator?
People tend to think Tennessee because I always had a lot of success, but I'm not going to lie. Every SEC team, man, every SEC game was big. You guys and, each and every alumni, every player that they brought in to, kind of give us knowledge on the history of the how important those SEC games are. It made you take pride in each one, whether it's Kentucky, whether it's Vanderbilt or Georgia or LSU or Tennessee. You had pride in playing every SEC game because you knew you could not lose those games.
We're speaking with Brandon James on the Titan MR hotline, 2-time All-American at UF, also a 2-time national champ, 08 SEC Special Teams Player of the Year. When you look at your 06 and your 08 team, Brandon, which one do you think was better?
Of course, I'll say 08. Of course. And just because a lot of the freshman class that I came in with, we're older now. We're leaders on that team. We had our stamp on that team. But that's not taking anything away from that 06 team, man. That 06 was probably one of the most dominant defenses I've seen in college football, man. That D-line, the way they just control games, the leadership skills they had, because at the same time, they went through a lot going through coaching change. Zook was a hell of a recruiter. So, you come in and all those guys are thoroughbred players, you just wanted some success. to finish their career off with at the University of Florida. So not taking anything away from those guys, but of course I'm going to go with the '08 team because we're just older then, and we felt like, besides that Ole Miss game, I mean, we felt like we were just clear and cut better than everybody else in the nation.
When you look back at, I was at the Ohio State game. I was on the sidelines. Ted Ginn returns the opening kick, right, for a touchdown. Mm-hmm. And Ohio State folks are going crazy. But then you have a pretty good return to set us up. Talk a little bit about how you could change the momentum of a game being a return guy.
Well, as you said, man, watching Teddy Ginn on TV before I even went to college, you come out there and you're like, man, he's fast, man. He turns the corner, he takes one back. And, I just always prided myself on starting the game with momentum before I got, especially early on as a freshman, man. That was my opportunity to get the ball, be on TV, showcase my ability. So every opportunity I got, I wanted to make a big play for our team. And, being a quarterback, man, I want to set the quarterback up with great field position, whether it's I take it back or whether I put you past the 50, whatever. I know it's a better situation for the offense. And so in that opportunity, man, seeing him, I was like, man, it's my opportunity to make a big play also. And, I got face mask or whatnot, one of those times where the kicker got me. And Coach Meyer never, lets me live down when the kicker tackles me. So, but at the same time, we set the offense up and we just ran with it from there. And, those are great memories, man. It's crazy.
Yeah. Speaking of memories, we just got another text on the Titan MR text line here. It comes from Frank. Frank wants to know, when you were there for Tebow's speech after the Ole Miss game, what did that mean to you guys as a football team?
We didn't hear it until the.
Well, that's right, because he did that with the media.
Yeah. So when you hear it, I mean, again, that '08 team, man, it had a bunch of leaders on it. So really, truly, we didn't need to hear his speech to already know what the mission was from there, for the rest of the season. Everyone was just torn up about the fact that we let that game slip away. We knew we were a better team than we showed that day. And so when you hear his speech, it just validates everything we've been thinking that we've kind of already discussed as a position group, as a team, So, hearing Tebow and the way he spoke about it, you just had to kind of back him up with the words he spoke that day, because we didn't want to let him down, because again, he stood in front of thousands of people and made those comments. So we want to validate the things he said.
Brandon, you also ran track at Florida. Was that difficult on you to be a two-sport athlete at a major university?
Oh yeah, it was big time, man. It's a lot different from high school. In high school, you don't get the coaching that you would get in college. I mean, you're kind of just told to run. You don't really know how to take care of your body, how to hydrate, how to stretch. You're kind of just running. And I always had hamstring problems in high school. So my senior year, I kind of gave it a break just because I wanted to be fresh coming into college. And Coach Meyer wasn't happy about that, of course. But when I got to college, he would always say, hey, you should go out there. And it was funny. Me and Percy didn't even know we're in the media guide our freshman year, and we didn't run track. Because we had did so well. I didn't run my senior year. He didn't run his senior year. But because we had did so well up until our senior years in track in high school, I guess Coach Holloway had thought of us enough to put us in the media guide, and he didn't even mention anything to us or anything about running track. So Coach Meyer pushed us, and going until our sophomore year, I think we ended up running, and it was fun, man. I actually wish I could have ran more, but again, your body's changed. Coach Mick was killing us, so we had blew up. You go from being 170 soaking wet in high school and running to 183, 185, and your back feels a little different while you're running out. You got a lot more muscle. So it's a little different, but at the same time, looking back, I wish I could have took advantage of some of those opportunities just to compete, man. Because at the core of me, I'm a big competitor. So I ran in, I think, 1 or 2 track meets, but that's something that I wish I could have done a lot more. But it was fun, man. I appreciate Coach Holloway for giving me the opportunity to even come out.
So I got a question for you, because I know it happens on all football teams. When practice is over, you meet with your position coach, and then guys are talking so much trash, and dudes are always, I'm faster than you, So how many times did Brandon James, Percy Harvin, Rainey, and Demps race each other, like after practice?
Never after practice, but of course during the summer when we had Coach Mick had something he called speed groups. So he had speed group 1, speed group 2, and of course we all were in speed group 1. And those were the only opportunities we got to race each other. Sometimes Demps was still in track, so he wasn't there all the time. But I tell people all the time, it was Percy and Demps. I mean, it was Percy and Demps. Me and Rainey were there behind. I'm going to say I could beat Rainey, of course, because I'm a competitor. But of course, he beat me sometimes. I beat him. But you got Percy and Demps 1A and 1B. I think because Percy's a competitor also, but he's a world class athlete as well. So, I mean, I would go with Demps because I actually seen him run a 10.0 something before in the track meet. But I'm pretty sure Percy could have ran a 10.2, 10.1 and been right on his footstep, right on his heels.
How many times do you think if you four guys did a 4x100 relay at the collegiate level, y'all could beat some teams around the country, wouldn't you?
I love it, of course. And you know how our track team is at the University of Florida. I love them to death, but I would take us four against anybody, especially at those times, even with the football bodies, because if you throw in the aspect of us just being ultimate competitors, man, and all three of us just hated to lose. Now it would be a big argument with who's going to be the anchor. That would be the argument, because everyone thought they were the fastest person to be the anchor, but that would have been the biggest argument. But man, that would have been a great thing to see. All of us never was out there at the same time, so it never came into fruition.
Yeah. So after college, you go, you play a little bit with the Colts, play a little Canadian ball. Talk a little bit about the experience of the NFL and playing in the CFL.
The NFL was a great experience. It was a lot different for me. I was used to being on the team-oriented team atmosphere. And I never forget, of course, I was a priority free agent, had some injuries and whatnot, and everything played out how it played out. But it was a great opportunity for me. And I never forget being into camp. And, you're in camp and you're thinking it's like college. You can ask a guy, what is this? What is that? And he's going to tell you, what to do. And it was a guy just trying to get a job just like me. And he told me the wrong thing. And he actually told me the wrong play. I get it, I mess it up, and receiver coaches laying on me. And I never forget, Reggie Wayne pulled me to the side. He said, man, you better study because these guys are looking for jobs just like you. So you can't ask anybody anything. You have to be on top of your stuff. And right then and there, that taught me a lot, and just seeing him work, seeing Peyton work, it just taught me a lot about, man, these guys are, I can't remember what year they're in at the time, but their Hall of Fame careers already built, and they were just working like dogs. Reggie would never let me take a rep. I would always try to get him out. He would not come out. And then I never forget, once I got activated, Peyton staying after practice with me doing one-on-one sessions. That was probably more so than even making it to the NFL and playing. That was probably my biggest moment in the NFL. Peyton Manning pulling me to the side after practice, said, hey, we got to do one-on-one walkthroughs up and down the field with all his signals, because you've seen the signals on TV. Those 100 signals, dummy signals not to go by and all that stuff there. And that, head over heels, that was the biggest moment for me in the NFL, because for him to take the time with me, being a priority free agent, being a guy who's just activated, that just blew my mind. Go ahead.
No, we got another text here on the Titan MR text line. That's 352-353-7465. Joe wants to know, how was it to be coached by Mike Holloway in track?
Oh, it was, again, man, he's probably the best I've seen do it. I mean, and just, his resume speaks for itself, all the great athletes he's trained and all the world-class athletes he's trained, being an Olympic coach, all that good stuff. So, again, I wasn't out there long, but, man, he was just a good coach to, be out there with, because he would motivate you, but he had those ways. He was kind of like I call it a football player's coach. You know what I mean? He would, joke with you, talk with you, but at the same time push you. And I never forget, we're at practice one day, and Coach Meyer and Coach Mickey Marotti would always come out and check on us, because we're the football guys. He's worried, that we're not tearing anything up out there and we're still healthy. And him telling Coach Holloway telling Coach Meyer, like, hey, Percy looks good. I think Bubba was running at the time. Bubba Caldwell looks good. He's like, man, that James kid, he can be special if he'll just stay out here for a little bit. And that kind of sparked the light in my head. But at the same time, I was having those hamstring issues, bigger, and just football is my main thing. So I didn't kind of follow through with it. But I never forget that comment, because he's seen something in me that I didn't even see in myself. And, that's special to me.
We got a text from Jonathan. Jonathan wants to know, what is the one game in your career that stands out the most for you?
Easily the 08 title game, national title game versus Oklahoma. I'm one of those people that I want to win rather than having a lot of success for myself. So that game, I might not have taken a punt back or ran a kickoff return back or had a touchdown reception or rushing. but just being a champion, man, being able to, again, that '08 team, we went through so much adversity the year before in '07, losing all those games and then coming back and getting killed in the offseason and be able to kind of follow through with all that work and being a national champion. Easily, that's the biggest game, the best memory I'll have.
Another text here on the Titan MR text line. It comes from Cooper. Cooper wants to know, what do you think of Percy trying to attempt a comeback in the NFL?
I mean, Percy Harvin is easily probably the best football player I've ever seen or played with. So
I agree.
So I mean, I'm never going to say he can't do something. I think it's one of those things. As long as Percy has his mind all together of, look, I have a whole new challenge in front of me, and I have to just go outwork everyone. I think he'll do it. Because again, man, he's a world class athlete. I think until he's almost probably 34, 35, he still has some time to go. And even then, I think he could still be a hell of an athlete. It's just about putting the work in. So anything he wants to do, I think he'll be good at it as long as he's ready for the challenge.
I agree with that. I got a question for you here. So as a punt returner and a kickoff returner, which do you prefer the most?
Punt return, easy.
Yeah.
Easily. Punt return, you're less dependent on your blocks. I would always tell guys, look, man, if you're struggling that much, you got to block somebody in the back. Just move out the way. I'll make them miss. Never block them in the back. But kickoff return, man, you're dependent on those guys staying in front of those defenders, at least for a little bit, because those guys are screaming down. And then the blocks have to set up a little better. You can't quite dance and make people miss. But punt returns easy, man. And the biggest thing with punt returns is you're back there all alone. The camera's on you. And I grew up just loving punt returns. I'm watching Dion. I'm watching Peter Ward, Jacquez Green, Dante Hall, Devin Hester. And you see those guys. My dad even was a big punt returner, in St. Augustine and when he went to Sanford University. So you're watching all these people and you watch them, have success. And you're like, man, when I get my chance to get back there, I'm going to, do some of the similar things. And I'm not going to lie, I like to celebrate. And, when it's my time to shine, I want the camera on me. So just being back there, you see Dion getting the crowd all into it. And when you're in the swamp, you know how it is. They're orange and blue going back and forth. You step back there. And me having a little success, it was always this anticipation thing like, okay, here he comes. So I always took advantage of that moment.
We're speaking with Brandon James on the Titan MR hotline. Brandon, you just recently were inducted into the University of Florida Hall of Fame, along with two teammates, Tim Tebow and Brandon Spikes. Talk a little bit of what that means to you, and now you're in a select group of former athletes.
That's probably easily the biggest, one of the biggest moments of my career. Just because, like you said, going in with those two guys, they're both blue chip, 5-star parade All-Americans out of our 06 class. And me, I'm the 3-star, 5'6", 5'7" kid from St. Augustine, Florida. So no way, shape, or form, if you put that class together in front of someone, no one's going to choose me as the guy that's probably going to be in the Hall of Fame when you fast forward all the careers. So, that's something I take a lot of pride in, man. And, the University of Florida, man, all those championships you guys won, all the great talent that's came through the University of Florida. And it's a really humbling experience for me. And it's one of those things where I tell people, I never thought people would respect what I did at this aspect because, again, it's punt return and kick return. I kind of made it into a return specialist thing. That kind of came a thing during that time. Hester was doing his thing. Dante Hall was doing his thing. But, I never thought it would have been respected to this aspect to be put into a Hall of Fame. But, it's just a humbling experience to know that you were respected. And just to get all the texts from all the coaches, the ADs at the University of Florida, man, it's just been a great experience for me.
That's awesome. Text here on the Titan MR text line from Kyle. He wants to know, what's Brandon up to these days?
I'm back home at St. Augustine, man, coaching football. I have my own training program, training business. It's called Blueprint. So I'm training kids nonstop every day, man. I love being around the youth. I'm actually a behavioral teacher at an elementary school in the area. So again, man, ever since I've kind of got done, it took a while kind of me to find my thing, but I'm passionate and love being around kids and helping mold the next generation. So, me training kids, me coaching kids, and also teaching them. And in a behavioral unit, I love the fact where you can kind of help mold, the mindset of kids and kind of how they think. And it's something I'm very passionate about. And again, man, from Monday until Sunday, I'm doing what I can for the community that I grew up in, and that's a great feeling for me.
No doubt about it. Brandon, before we let you go, talk a little bit about, I don't know how much you talked to Coach Meyer, but having Dan Mullen, who was on the staff when you were here, coming back to the University of Florida and what he's done in his 2 years here. Your thoughts?
I mean, I'm the biggest Coach Mullen fan there is, and I think I did a podcast maybe a couple weeks ago, and the guy asked me if we had Mullen for that 09 game against Alabama, would I think it would be different? I said, no doubt. No doubt. I mean, I'm not trying to discredit Adazio, but Coach Mullen, man, he's just special what he can do with talent. And he followed the blueprint of what Coach Meyer kind of laid down. So with him coming back, I knew the success would just be the next day, you know what I mean, overnight. And then because I was going back, I seen Muschamp, I seen Malcolm Wayne. But as soon as Coach Mullen came, you go back and you see the kids' bodies change. You know what I mean? You see the weight room is different. You see everybody's kind of bigger. Everybody's stronger now. The kids are looking different. And then the mindset, I mean, even when you're walking into the door, I mean, they welcome you in, man, with open arms. And, of course, we played for those guys, so it's a little different. But I'm pretty sure you've seen it. You know, you didn't play for any of them, but you go back and just walk around, do whatever you need to do because it's your school. And that's a special feeling, man, to be able to go back and feel at home somewhere where you kind of help build and mold the program. It's a special feeling. So I hope we can get back to ball soon because I'm picking this year for us to be our year. I think this is Coach Mullen's year to get over the hump. I easily think we'll be in Atlanta. There's no way I see a first-year quarterback at Georgia or LSU beating us this year, not with Coach Mullen and, the way his staff gets us ready and prepared for games. There's no way I can see that happening. So hopefully we can get back to ball because I see us in Atlanta this year, man.
That's good stuff. Before we let you go, let people again know about your training where they can, if they want to contact you to have their kids trained or what have you, and if you're on Twitter or anything.
I actually have a shirt on. It's Blueprint Sports and Physical Training. I have a Facebook page on my Facebook. It's called Blueprint Sports and Physical Training. You can kind of get to it from my page. But again, I'm just in St. Augustine, Florida. I'm in the surrounding areas. And again, I train kids all the way from 6 years old into collegiate athletes. So my schedule is, I'm willing to work with anyone as long as you can fit it into the schedule. And man, it's been a blessing for me, again, to help my community and kids that are, from the similar areas that I am. And then also just kids that are looking for an opportunity to kind of get better and be a total better athlete.
Well, that's good stuff, buddy. Congratulations again on the Hall of Fame. What an honor. And we appreciate you joining the show today.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
All right. That's Brandon James joining us on the Titan MR hotline. We're going to take our second time out. When we come back, we'll wrap it up. You're watching and listening to Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. We'll be right back.
Time out.
Thanks,
Time
buddy.
out.
All right, man. Thank you.
Time out. Time out. Time out. There we go. Good.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills.
Let's give them something to cheer for now.
Our Gridiron sponsors are Crime Prevention Security, small enough to serve you, large enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Peachland Dentistry, Gator Nation's #1 choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte and surrounding areas. Area Rug Masters, your #1 choice for rug cleaning. And Pound Hurt, preferred personal injury attorneys.
Our touchdown sponsors are Campus USA Credit Union, Celebration Point Town Center, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, The Keys Grill and Piano Bar, The Digital Mortgage Guy, Adams Ribs, Cloud9 Spa, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Center State Bank, Gator Bait Media, and Davis Chevrolet.
If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, you can visit our website, podupwithshane.com, and click on the advertise button or call Freddie Wiebe at 352-284-3733.
Again, thank you for all the great businesses that support the show. Please remember, if you like what we are doing here, thank our sponsors and support the businesses that support us.
He's looking, still looking. He's going for the end zone. He's got a touchdown.
Welcome back to Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Large enough to serve you, small enough to care. This Day in Sports brought to you by The Best Restoration. Do you have COVID-19 concerns? Do what everyone is doing and hire The Best Restoration to fully sanitize and sterilize your home or office. Visit their offices this week for a free bottle of hand sanitizer when you mention the code Shane. Call them 352-234-8994. In 2019, last year PGA Championship at Bethpage, defending champ Brooks Koepka wins wire to wire. Even though he had 5 bogeys on the last 8 holes, he still defeats Dustin Johnson. That's your This Day in Sports. Also on Friday, Jackie Spreads, which is brought to you by Peachland Dentistry, will be joined by one of his guests. It's the #1 choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte and surrounding areas. That's going to be a wrap for today's show. Tomorrow, we got our Georgia Bulldogs, Kevin Butler, Mark Schlabach from ESPN. Have a great day out there, folks. We'll see you tomorrow. Take care.